Hello and welcome back to another Magic Arena video. I am Magic Sven, and today we're playing the Limited Open. So this is sealed, shadows over Innistrad, and you can see here we got a pretty great pool. All of our rares are sort of just in the same two colors. There's the one red rare there, but we've got a bunch of bombs in black and white, so this is looking like it's going to be a pretty great pool. So you can see, like, the first thing I do is stick in Thraben Inspector. I think Thraben Inspector's maybe the best common in the format. It just serves as, like, a roadblock and a little bit of card advantage. And this is going to be, like, one of the easier decks I've had to build. There's some good stuff in the board there. You can see a Unburial Rites got in there. We got a Sever the Bloodline, which is just great and sealed. It's 4 mana to exile a creature, and then 7 mana to flash it back and exile again. Which, in sealed, you get to 7 mana a lot more easily than you do in draft. We've got a Certain Death, kind of the same deal, 6 mana to kill a creature, drain them for 2. Also a little bit better in sealed, but still pretty good in draft. We do have the Wrath Descend upon the Sinful, which is quite good. Getting Delirium in this deck is a little tricky, but we've got enough stuff in there that can make it happen not too hard. So we usually end up getting the Angel there. Add in a couple of Crows of Dark Tidings there to try and help out with that Delirium angle. You can see we also got the 4 mana Mind Rack Demon that deals you 4 if you don't have Delirium, so we want to help out a little bit there as well. Added in a couple True Face Sensors. I checked the sideboard and we've got a lot of humans, so the sensors are going to be pretty good. We are going to cut one just because we don't want too many non-creatures, and we're going to cut one of the Crows, kind of because they're a little dorky, even if they do help the Delirium count out. But that's going to be the deck. I did take a quick look to see how the red would look in here. There are a lot of good red cards in the sideboard. We got a ton of burn spells, Faithless Looting, there's another Bombardment over there, but it's just not quite enough to be better than the rest of everything we have already. So don't want to splash. I didn't have any good fixing there, so I'll keep the red stuff in the sideboard, and we'll just keep going with the black-white deck that we built initially. You can see here that this is April 1st, so we've got all this goofy VCR stuff going on in Magic Arena today. Pretty good looking hand. We got 2 colors of mana, gonna need 1 more land, but drew it pretty quickly, and we'll lead on the Ghoul Caller's Apprentice. Always want to make sure we get on the board before we start playing stuff like equipment and things. We have a Wharf Infiltrator here, which is a problem. I don't really want my opponent just to be gaining clues and 3/2s every turn. So I'm going to let it sit for the time being. Play out my Cathar. I can't block it because it's got Skulk, which is creatures with greater power are unable to block it. So that gets through. It makes a 3/2. I'm not sure if I should have purged last turn, because I'm going to have to do it, like, now anyways. So what I'm going to do here... Yeah, I can't play the Faith Sensor. I have to purge or sever the Bloodline, that Wharf Infiltrator. I can't let it just get this constant value engine going on. They do have to discard creatures, but the problem is, like, 3/2s are an issue for me right now, and I don't have a way to stop them from being an issue. So I'm going to sever the Bloodline. I think it was right to wait. Purging and getting rid of a land just doesn't seem like a great idea. They put out a 2/4 here, which is a pretty good body. But we're lucky we've got a human, so we can get in with our 4/3 with no problem. And now Purge is looking pretty good. I don't mind sacrificing a land at this point. Most of our bombs are 6-drops, so it's a little unfortunate if we drew something off the top in a couple turns after getting rid of a land. So now their Explorers are 4/6, so we're not able to block that. Here comes down an Ingenious Scab. I'm kind of okay with racing, though. And I think I'm going to purge the 4/6. Getting the 2-for-1 there is just pretty nice. Technically, this is a 1-for-1 since I have to sacrifice a land, but again, don't really care too much about that. And the Priest is going to be pretty good here, tapping down. It can tap down the Scab right now. And if we can just get in with this 4/3 a couple more times, then we're looking very good. They're sacking a clue, which is a great start for us. The less mana they have to just put out a ton of creatures, the better. Next turn I'll also make sure to get my Dauntless Cathar out of the graveyard if we don't draw anything. Can definitely use a 1/1 flyer right now. If they get rid of the Ghoul Color's Apprentice, that would probably be our repeatable source of damage. Alright, and they got a Topplegeist, which is going to tap down our Apprentice for 1 turn. They don't have Delirium yet, so they can't keep tapping it. Not going to block here. Happy to trade 2 damage off here. And they're going to put my guy in the moon. So we're just going to equip up here. And it's a 3/3, and it also has Vigilance, which means we can tap and attack with it, which is pretty great. Here's the 1/1, like I said. And we're going to play the land so we can have Sever mana up next turn. Could have kept it in hand, but it's kind of neither here nor there. If they still want to trade damage, we can. But we're actually just going to tap this down. Don't really need to wait for it. And yeah, just happy to hit here. We have Sever, but I don't feel like we need to sever anything right now. The Scab can do a decent amount of damage, but I don't think we're anywhere close to lethal at this point. Plus, we still have the Priest to tap the Scab down. Here, I'm debating whether I should just let attacks happen, because I don't think they can be attacking anymore. And that is what happens, they just don't attack. So, we tap down the Scab on their turn. And we drew a Purge. We'll see if we Purge this Topplegeist. I could also just attack and tap. So we're going to attack here. We have Vigilance. We tap it down. And even though it's tapped now, it's still attacking. And turns out they didn't have anything. So we get in there for the last few points. Grand victory. Moving on, we've got a slow hand here. We can't do anything until turn 5. And the things we can do on turn 5 don't do anything unless we've already done things. The disposal needs us to sacrifice a creature. The rights need us to have creatures in the graveyard. So we're actually going to throw that one back. Even though it was a nice split of lands, we can't just afford to sit around and do nothing for that many turns. This hand's looking a lot better. We've got a double black card and only 1 swamp, but I'm going to get rid of the Purge there. It's kind of close because I can't cast the Condemned with the lands I have right now. Luckily we drew a Priest off the top. But also I don't want to 2-for-1 myself with lands and Purges anytime soon, so kind of the same deal either way. Here we have a Indulgent Aristocrat, which does have lifelink, and even though it's not a human, just giving this +1/+1 on a lifelinking guy against this red-white, probably aggro deck seems pretty good. So we're going to get in there, and then we're just going to play our huge demon. We're nowhere close to getting Delirium, but those hits off the top were pretty good. And now if we can get an artifact in the graveyard, we should be okay on our Delirium count. Luckily we do have an artifact in hand too. So we're going to sacrifice a creature here. Well, we'll play this first, so when we sacrifice a creature, then we're going to get +1/+1 on the Condemned as well. Hit for 3. Now we don't have to worry about taking 4 every turn. And we have Unburial Rights in the graveyard, so we can bring back our giant demon at any point we want. Opponent's struggling a little bit. They haven't had much in the way of creatures. This Pyrohound's just going to be a little too small. And we drew a Sorin off the top, which is looking very nice. Crack in there for a good 6 damage. And we're going to bring the demon back at this point. Still at 3, but we've got the ability to discard a card on the battlefield right now, so we can stop the bleeding at any point there. And our opponent is at 9, so trading 4 for 4 is definitely still pretty good for us. They put out a land that lets them give creatures haste. Not too worried about that as of yet. See if they want to send in their Pyre Hound. It doesn't look like it. And you gotta think I think they play something here. If we can get a 6 land for our Sorin, we're also looking pretty good there. They make Mischief just so they have another blocker, and they pump up their Pyre Hound a little bit. Okay with taking 4 here. Okay, and we drew our last land for the Sorin. Maybe should have played that pre-combat. But it also depends on how they block. If they do a conservative block, I can just uptick Sorin and maybe finish them off that way. They're not looking like they're gonna... Oh, okay, they did attack with the... They did block with the Pyre Hound. So we're just gonna discard this Epitaph Golem. That's gonna give us our Delirium. Vampires get +1/+1 this turn. If they've got an instant or sorcery, that's fine. I'm willing to trade all this stuff. I don't mind that much. Because they're on a clock. So now I'm just going to play the Sorin. Considering what I want to do with it, both options I think are pretty valid, but I do end up down-ticking. So now if they want to like play a creature, haste it up, attack my Sorin, that's probably most of their turn, and then that's not going to be good enough. Terrarian's very good for us to see. Doesn't seem like they have anything of note. Because if they're just using 1 mana on Terrarian, then I think we're in the clear here. They play a 4/1 and a Steadfast Cathar. And that's all good. We can just equip our Censor on our Demon, get in there for the last few points. Easy, no problem. Alright, we got a nice hand here. We've got Thraben Inspector, Crack Clue on turn 2. Hopefully draw something for turn 3. Drawing more 6-drops. Not exactly what I was hoping for, but that's the way she goes. Up against a Monkey Butler. They've got a 2/3 that transforms. Pretty good stuff. We drew another land and our Demon, so unfortunately that guy's just going to get through. Can't really block it. So we'll take the 2, see if they want to transform or do something else. They play an Arsonist. And we're going to play the Accursed Witch. Feel like it's fairly likely it just gets destroyed here, but if it doesn't, it can block everything on their board. I do believe it's going to get murdered here in some fashion. Sin Prodder from the opponent, and here comes the Fiery Temper. Luckily it's not flow to exile it, so we do get our curse on the opponent. I don't want to block here because I need to Ruthless Disposal. Killing 2 of their creatures is just so important here. That gives us the time to catch back up. And I believe I'm going to kill the 5/4 and the 3/2. Even though the Conduit can transform, it's not that big, and it takes up their whole turn, and then we can still sever that or hit it with the Sorin or something else. But I don't want them getting card advantage, and the 5/4 is just the biggest thing on the board. Tough choice on what to discard here. I end up going for the Sever, because it can still get us value out of the graveyard. We pass to the opponent, and I think they're just going to transform here. They do, they hit us for 5. They don't have anything to do with that extra mana, so we just get to slam our Sorin here, do 4 damage to that creature. That also gains us a lot of life. So now we've got a nice buffer, we've got our curse going. Yeah, and it's just looking totally inevitable here. I did have fun, in fact. But yeah, we've just got so much stuff, opponent can't keep up. Had a bad hand to start there, just plains. We need more stuff than that. This hand's not great either, but I don't think I can throw back a 6 that looks like this. Not sure what... Well, there's definitely 5 hands that look better, but I think we're going to need to hold on to this one. Don't love the Purge in hand here, of course. We don't want to be sacrificing lands if we're on mulligans. Yeah, Purge. Purge is good, and it's good and sealed, but it's really punishing in these situations. Any kind of mulligan situation. Still considering taking the mulligan here. Playing with my dog, I guess. Oh, our opponent was still deciding, so that's the wait there. Play the swamp. Opponent has a Thraben Inspector on turn 1, always good. Really don't want to draw the second Purge there. So we're on mulligans already, and now we basically have nothing to do. They're on our Thraben Inspector Crack Clue start from last game, and they've got a Shrill Howler, which is quite good. We get to equip our Inspector up, though. And then they don't actually have any blocks. True Faith Censor is just a heck of a card, and so is Thraben Inspector for that. So now this Fiend Binder is kind of a problem because they can tap down our defenses. So I believe I'm going to Purge here and get rid of that Binder. Oh, I get rid of the Wolf. I attack here because I have Vigilance. If they want to block with the Binder, I'm pretty happy about that. They put out the Sage of Ancient Lore. There goes my guy. Don't have good attacks here. We'll just play our Dragoon. Not going to attack into their 4/4. And we're looking pretty behind right now. They've got a Purge, they're sacrificing a land for it. And they get to swing in for 8 damage. And they've got more threats. So this is a tough, tough spot. I think I should have attacked here first. I'm gonna get rid of a land, I think. So we do Purge. And we're gonna sacrifice the Censor, actually. Just kind of delaying at the moment. If we can get a Sorin down and gain a bunch of life, that'll help a lot. But we don't really get anything, so unfortunately we lose that one. Just got a little run over with not a great hand to start with the game. This hand, though, is quite good, especially after we drew that swamp that lets us play everything we got. We can get out the Sigardian Priest as soon as we can. And opponent is on mono black so far. Play our third land drop and just put the Crow out. I would block the Dragoon, I think. And I don't think it's right to attack here. They probably have something with Madness. And they do. It's the 3/3. Yeah. I would definitely block the Dragoon because it's their engine right now. Not going to block a 3/3, of course. I could trade both of my creatures for it, but that doesn't seem too worthwhile. I am considering it. Maybe I do that. Yeah. So I do take this block. Nope. Okay, we're deciding here. We do take this block. And I think the reason for that is just because I've got way more inevitability. So if I can just stop their attacks now, then we can just kind of hold the line. Not sure if that one's right. That's definitely an interesting one. But I am playing a control game here for sure. I would happily block the Dragoon if they let me. They don't. They actually just discard a land to fly over. So I'm going to start hitting with the Witch. If they've got something to Madness out and block, that's okay. don't do anything, so we'll play our Dragoon and our equipment here. Now, here's the third color for them. And it turns out they've got a Planeswalker, so the sub-game begins. They're going to make a 2/2. And I don't think they're going to attack here. Yep, they don't. Now, we've got a few different ways to get rid of this. Well, actually, not that many, because Purge actually... I thought it was destroy target permanent, but it's actually like just artifacts, enchantments, and creatures, I believe. So we can't purge it. Sever the Bloodline only hits creatures. What we can do is equip the Dragoon. Jump it. No, we'd have to... Okay, we could do this. If we really absolutely wanted to get rid of the Planeswalker on this turn, we could equip the Dragoon, jump it, and then purge their Dragoon. But not too interested in doing that. That's just using a lot of our cards for this Arlen, which is not that threatening at the moment. And they do trade both of them. We sent both of them at their creature. Pretty happy to get that Dragoon out of there. And you can see here that I thought the Purge was going to kill the Planeswalker, but that's not the case. So we do have to think about that now. They do kill our 4/2, so we've got our enchantment out now, but they've got several creatures. And I believe we're just going to play the demon here. We put a Planeswalker in the yard, so now we've got our Delirium on, so our demon will not be doing us any damage. I believe opponent will be making another wolf here. But luckily our demon is just larger than everything they have out. Okay, they actually make the Bloodseeker at 3/5. They've got one card in hand, and I'm just going to not block here. I'm not in any life total danger. And if they have something in their hand, if they had the discard burn spell, that would be pretty bad for me if I blocked. Or just like an incendiary thing, whatever it is. It turns out they didn't have that, but there's just no reason to block there. We're winning the damage race, we're winning in every other fashion. Now I don't think they can even pretend to have something else. They would need to 3-for-1 themselves with something. So we're just going to pass. We've still got our flyer up. We're pinging in with the curse. And that's just enough. Just too much air damage plus our inevitability from the curse. Decent hand here. Keep that one. 2-drop, 3-drop. And we've got a Veteran Cathar from the opponent. We'll play the Censor out. Make our land drop, and we're going to play the Cathar. I believe I'm doing that because I'd like to get the Censor equip sooner than later onto a human. But they make short work of our human, and unfortunately it gets exiled. Play out our Crow then. And they've got Blood Mist, which is quite a problem. So now instead of paying 4 to give double strike, they just have to go to attacks. I believe I Sever here. The Purge can get rid of the Blood Mist, but I will need to get rid of this Cathar, I think, on its own at some point. So I'm just going to Sever here. There's a chance they don't have any creatures, but if they do and it's something decent, then we might just take the Blood Mist out. We get a Ghoul Color's Accomplice. And I believe now I'm going to purge the Blood Mist. Just feels like it's their most likely to randomly win the game. Gonna sack the Censor here. Helps us get to Delirium. And we do want our lands. We want that Sever the Bloodline online. Make sure we hit all our 6-drops on time. Alright, and they've got a Purge for our Vulture and a Captive. So I'm definitely going to Purge this turn. I think you can make an argument for either of these things, but the Captive can't transform next turn unless they have a land. And even if they do, they have to tap the Captive itself. So I'm going to kill the Griffin. It's just a longer road to get to flipping the Captive. They have the land, they do flip it. And I'm just going to not attack here. So I can just, like, chump, sit on my Ghoul Color's Apprentice for several turns. Hopefully we draw any one of our random bombs. Just win the game off of that. And they don't even attack here, which is very suspicious. It's because they have a Mockery of Nature. So they play out another gigantic creature, and we're looking like we're in a real tough spot now. We play our Lone Rider. They come swinging in with just the one creature again. And we draw Descend Upon the Sinful off the top. It's definitely the best thing we could have got. So we have to cast it this turn. They just have too many things over there. I don't really know why they didn't attack with the 4/6 last turn. So we're going to hit with the Lone Rider. They're just going to block with the 4/6. And we Descend Upon the Sinful. They've got no cards in hand, and we've got half a card in the graveyard. Guardian Priest is a good one to start with, but we get an Epitaph Golem right away. Plus our 2/2 zombie. Have exactly enough mana to do everything. They get a Thraben Inspector off the top, which is a pretty good draw. And I think they get a Faith Unbroken here. No, they got a Griff Spoon. It's pretty good, lets them keep getting in for damage, but we get a Purge. I'm going to go to attacks. They're going to tap down my Golem. I swing with the zombie. And I believe I'm going to Purge the Griff Spoon here. I think I should have just done that pre-combat and then hit with the zombie. It's just a little bit safer, because I don't really want them to block, put the boon back into the graveyard. And then we lose the zombie. Yeah, I don't think there was any way they were going to, though, so it's still pretty safe. Not much of note off the top here. But at the moment, we're trading 2 damage for 1. So we're going to keep doing that. Even though we're at a lower life total, we are currently winning the race. And I'm just like a little less concerned about their draws than mine, because we've got draws like Sorin. They keep tapping our Golem down. And now we're going to play Sorin here. Both upticking and downticking are pretty good. I go for the uptick. We got a land off the top. But doing 2 to the priest would have also been pretty nice. And now they've got a big problem to deal with here. We've got a source of repeatable life damage, or lifelink, life gain, and draw. But they've got this Ulrich of the Crawlin' Horde, which is enough now that they can do 6 damage to my Sorin. Yeah, that was a hot draw, for sure. And they also have a Rabid Bite to take out my Golem. I'm going to think about putting something on the bottom here. I think I am going to put this Purge. It doesn't hurt our Delirium. And if we get to the very, very end of the game, I think that's the card that would help us win the most. No attacks with the 2/2. We did get the Accursed Witch off the top. Sorin B is doing an excellent job of drawing lands at the moment. And they actually tap down the zombie over the witch. And they're not going to make any attacks because they get to fight now. So witch dies. And I believe I just -2 to get rid of that guy. No, I just keep drawing cards, actually. So we get one of our other many bombs, the Noosegraf Mob. Whenever we play any spell, any player plays a spell, then I remove a +1/+1 counter from it and get a 2/2 zombie. A very powerful card, can turn into a lot of zombies very quickly. Just gonna play this Aristocrat now. Get another zombie on the board. I was a little hesitant because I don't really want to flip their guy back. The curse is doing its job, though. They are slowly ticking down. And they decide to pump the Thraben Inspector again. Yeah, if they don't play any spells here, then they get to flip and eat my Noosegraf Mob. But they do play an Explosive Apparatus instead. So they can do 2 damage to anything. They send the Inspector in at the Aristocrat. And we're just going to chump block it. Protect our Sorin. Yeah, they don't attack with Ulrich because we've got so many zombies. And we just draw Certain Death off the top, which is, I think, the best thing we definitely could have drawn there. Now we've got so many zombies. They're at 2. We can start attacking. They're going to use their apparatus to get rid of our rare, but it's been just a little too much. They can block, but they still don't have enough to stop the 4 damage coming through, and that is the game. Here we've got a hand that looks pretty good. We're missing white mana, but our hand is full of black cards, so it's not really a problem at the moment. Indulgent Aristocrat comes down on turn 1. Drew a white drop. White 2-drop the Priest. And we got our Dragoon down, though. We did get the Plane, so now we're just in great shape. And currently we're just running our opponent over. They need something pretty darn good on this turn. Dauntless Cathar is alright. We'll attack with our Dragoon, I believe. Don't need it for discard purposes. They do block. And here's our Demon. We get a Sever in the graveyard. And they're black, white, green. Here's a Byway Courier from them. Can't tap that down. And we're going to be hitting for 4 in the air. We're also taking a lot of damage right now. Just going to play out this Epitaph Golem. Currently it can attack through their creature. I suspect more creatures are coming down. We do have the Indulgent Aristocrat, which can sack the Golem and give us the last card in the graveyard that we need. And we also drew Descend Upon the Sinful. So I'm just going to attack with these 2. I'm still taking 4 a turn, but it's not really a problem at the moment. They still have a Travel Prep. Travel Prep, as always, putting in a ton of work. That card's a pack 1, pick 1 if you haven't played with it before. And opponent is thinking, yeah, they're definitely in a hard spot here. They do have another flyer, and this one gains them some life, so that's a pretty good draw. And I thought they were going to hit me, but they don't. And you can see here, I actually do sack the Golem. It's not doing that much on the ground anymore, and not taking all that damage every turn is just kind of what we need. Just going to attack with the Demon here, and they're actually just letting it through, surprisingly. We'll play out the Sorin. And we've even got the Descend Upon the Sinful in the hand as the backup. We do 1 damage to them with the Thraben Inspector, so they're down to 3. And it's going to be hard for them to get rid of the Sorin. If they attack with all, I can block the Courier with the Aristocrat. And just plussing the Sorin is kind of a win condition at the moment, so I'm happy to trade off my dorky creatures for it. And if they do attack with all, then I've got the Demon that can come and do the last few points in the air. They did draw, however, one of the best cards I think they could have had. They get the Faith Unbroken. And so now we are actually way behind on board. Given that they have a Faith Unbroken, though, and we've got Delirium, it's time to descend upon the Sinful. And that gives us our Demon back and our Angel. We get the Sorin Plus, and it turns out that's just enough off the top. I don't know what was 4 cards on top of that, but the Scavengers on top is good enough to do the 5 points of damage. So we were looking good, but either way, we got him with the Sorin. Leading on the Ghoul Colors Apprentice here, just because it's got a little more power and toughness than the Priest does. Don't need to tap anything down yet, would rather just get in for some early damage. Opponent plays a Steadfast Cathar. And I don't think I attack here. Okay, I attack with the Priest because it can't block anyways. I didn't attack with the Apprentice, but I think I should have because I don't have great blocks on the Cathar. Yeah, because it turns into a 2-3. I don't think I accounted for that when I was thinking about it, so I should have just attacked there. I'm going to play an Epitaph Golem. Just pass the turn. And this Witch is going to come at us, and it's kind of a problem. Don't think I can just let 6 damage happen every turn, so I believe I trade here. I trade with the Priest and the Apprentice, just because the Priest doesn't really do anything against this, what looks like a Humans deck. And now we can start putting our bombs out. The Curse is a problem, but not yet. We're going to have to keep our eye on that one. Opponent definitely appears to be pretty aggressive. And I think they're going to equip up here. No, they're Divine Reckoning. So we all get to keep exactly 1 creature. Divine Reckoning, very interesting card. And now I know it's in the graveyard for the rest of the game. I think here I'm just playing Sorin and destroying this Cathar. Gain us some of that life back. Hit you for 3. Yeah, and Reckoning is just sitting out there like a time bomb. So we have to be pretty careful with our creatures now. Luckily, we're the ones with the Planeswalker, though. So just upticking while they hold back stuff for the Reckoning. It's going to be pretty good. Got a Lone Rider in hand. I don't think we're going to be playing anything. They play a Spirit. And we got them Burial Rites, which is very good. We're going to use Sorin Ping here for 1. Kind of want to encourage them into using the Wrath. Yeah. So I think I do put the Ghoul Colors Accomplice out here. Yeah, just kind of want them to use the Wrath at this point. And if they do, then we can go on Burial Rites, Lone Rider. The Equipped Spirit is enough to take our Sorin out. And they're just going to actually make a bunch of Spirits. I think it was a pretty good play by them. So we're going to just send in the Clowns here. I'm actually going to play the Dragoon just to get 1 more zombie token out there, I think. Yeah, it's a debate on this one. I think I could play it, get an extra zombie, or get in for a damage here if I don't think they're going to block the mob. They do block the mob. And they're double blocking a zombie. So they're out of creatures. And we're doing 4 a turn. again, I'm like pretty happy if they use the card out of their graveyard. So again, I'm still just going to play creatures. If they do that, then we still get to keep one of our guys. It's going to be the Dragoon. Now they have Distorted Mindbender, which is just totally nasty. We lose both the cards in our hand. And it's a 5/5. So when it comes into play, I believe it takes a card that costs 4 or more, or 3 or less. So that got both of our cards. We've got the rights in the graveyard that can help bring us back a little bit, but we're in trouble. We are in trouble now. The real problem is that the curse is still doing us a lot of damage, and we don't really have a good way to get through yet. Like, we could discard a card to our Dragoons, but then we're doing 2 a turn. They're draining us for 1 back, so it's 1 a turn while we're slowly dying, and we're discarding a card every single turn for that. And they actually go for the Divine Reckoning here. So we get to keep our Dragoon. I'm kind of thinking it was maybe not right to do that, but I guess the reason for it is that they wanted to get in with their Mindbender. I took 6 here, but I don't think that was right. I think I should have just blocked here. The curse is doing a lot of damage. I don't think it ends up mattering, but if I had drawn a spell there, it would have. So now we're going to pass. And they're going to get in there. And we're going to chump block. Could double block there, but I don't want to lose to just everything. They play a spell. Yeah, just getting all these chump blockers for this mob is just too important. So now we've got a witch. Their plan pretty much this whole time has been to drain us out with the curse. So if we can get this witch to die, then we get to stay in parity with them. Drawing a lot of lands off the top, unfortunately. I ended up not attacking there. Not sure if that was right or not. I feel like if they attacked with everything, I could chump with 3 zombies. Getting the Censor is good, because we get to put that on the witch. We get another zombie. And now we're attacking for 6 with Vigilance. They're going to chump here, because they don't want my witch to die. We're going down to 1 this turn. We'd love a Purge, and they actually just got the certain death on us, so that was enough to finish us off, draining us for 2. We were almost on the road to come back there, needed a Purge, but it just didn't happen. 1 win away from day 2 here. It all comes down to this last match. Let's see how it goes. Kind of a medium hand there. We don't have any early drops. Really having fun with the play-ins there. Got a Swamp on turn 2. Still don't have anything to do. They've got a Duskwatch Recruiter. There's our 2-drop right on time. We'll play the Crow out, and we put a Stromkirk into the graveyard along with a land. That's 2 cards for Delirium. And they put out this Plate, which is quite good. Equipped creature gets +4/+2. If it dies and was a human, then they get to make a spirit. I'm kind of imagining that that's going to be their next turn. I can take a hit though. So we're just going to play a Lone Rider. If they want to equip and use their turn for that, that's okay. I want to let my lands come a little further along. And they didn't actually equip there, a little bit surprising to me. So I'm just going to go for the Ruthless Disposal here, I believe. Just taking both their creatures off, and they've got an equipment that's just sitting there not doing anything. Our Lone Rider is not going to come online for a while. I think I can discard the land here. Though, I think I actually discard the Priest, because they look like they're a Humans deck. Priest as a 1/2 is not going to be doing anything. The classic 2-mana 1/2 Squire. Still worried about this plate, though. Like, there's sure to be a deck full of creatures. And if any of them stick with the plate on it, then it's going to be a problem. So, looking at my Angelic Purge for sure. And it seems that they're having trouble finding the creatures. Because they actually use their combat trick just to get the clue and sacrifice it immediately. So they're looking pretty desperately for something to do. They still haven't found it. We've drawn a Dragoon and a Wrath. It doesn't seem like we're going to be using the Wrath as of yet. But they drew a Pack Guardian, it turns out, off of that last one. So now they've got 2 creatures out. And suddenly we're kind of behind. Especially after this Rabid Bite. They hit us for a bunch. And they play another creature. And I think at this time, the Wrath is just too tempting. So we've got a decent amount of stuff in the graveyard. So that Scavenger is going to be pretty good. But I think we just need to clean up the board here. We've got Scavengers to rebuild. They've got a Thraben Inspector, which is looking pretty nice at the moment. We've got 6 mana. So we're not going to be able to purge and play the Scavengers in one turn. But we did draw the Mind Rack Demon, and I'm actually going to purge first things first. I don't want to take 10 a turn, and I really don't want them getting free creatures, so I can deal with a Thraben Inspector. Here I'm debating between what I'm going to get out of the graveyard. I think it might be Lone Rider, just because it has lifelink. Just gaining any life here would be nice. Notably, Mind Rack Demon does not have Delirium yet. And they found Removal Spell. We've got 6 mana here. I think it's just too tempting to play the Demon. There's pretty good odds that I hit something. You can see my mouse over on the side looking at all the things in our deck. Thinking, what are the odds that I get Delirium this turn? I think there were 2 cards, only 2 cards in the deck that did it. So the odds weren't great, but it did stop the bleeding. And getting the Unburial Rites is actually pretty good. So we've got a 2-turn clock on ourselves right now, but we do have the Certain Death. I don't think they have any attacks here. And they ended up moving the Bound by Silver over to the Lone Rider, because I think they thought that was our only source of lifelink. Lucky for us, we do have one more piece here with the Certain Death. And I think our opponent's death is getting a little bit more certain all the time as well. We do 4 damage with the Demon. Still don't have our Delirium. We're going to get 4 damage again. And we drew the Indulgent Aristocrat, which is pretty huge. They move that card over. And now they've got a 3/4. And we are lucky sons of guns. We've got our Indulgent Aristocrats. And we're able to sacrifice our Mind Rack Demon. And get that repeated damage off of the board. We don't have attacks, though. They did manage to make their Thraben Inspector quite big. And we've got a Cursed Witch in hand, though, and Burial Rites in the graveyard. Attacking with this Aristocrat. And we're just going to sack our board. My read was that they didn't have anything. So I felt pretty comfortable doing that. Yeah, despite all the cards in our hand, we're still just not doing anything, basically. They have a Purge, so they do get to get rid of our last creature there. We're going to sack it to itself just so we keep it in the graveyard instead of getting exiled. And we drew a Noosegraf Mob. Another lethal threat for the opponent to deal with. It's getting hard at this point. They did have the Death Touch creature. But we have a lot of mana. We've got 8 mana. We're just going to send in with the team here. They have to block the mob. They go to 2. And I'm going to play the Accursed Witch. Note I'm not playing the rights on the mob and then playing the Accursed Witch. I think that would definitely get the most creatures out. But the only way I lose is to a Wrath, and so I need to play around it. And that gets us our victory. Huzzah! We are champions of day 1. Thanks for watching the Sealed Pool. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like or subscribe, and I will see you next time.